Hi, my name is Lily and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my romance recommendations for this Valentine's. So I know a lot of people will be looking for romances to read this month because it is Valentine's in the middle of the month, and I thought I would recommend you some of my favourites. So these will all be adult romances, but there will be a mixture of spice levels depending on what you like, but I would say that all of these I would not necessarily recommend for anyone under 18. I would definitely go and look at the spice levels that other people have given them to see whether they are appropriate for under 18s. They are all adult romances. I won't be talking about any young adult romances in this video. Romance is my current favourite genre, it's what I like to read the most at the moment, but I still haven't read loads, so this might be a lot of romances you've heard of before or particularly popular romances, but hopefully I will explain to you why each one of these different romances or romance series are favourites of mine and why I think you should read them. So first up, if you've been around on this channel for a while, you'll have heard me talk about these books all the time, and I will take yet another opportunity to recommend them to you, and that is the Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Leese. So this is an ongoing series with a collection of standalone novels, but they can be read in order. Each book is about a different Bergman sibling. Even though it was called the Bergman Brothers originally, she has since made the decision to make some of the books about the sisters in the family, so it is each sibling will get their own romance book. Each book has a different kind of disability rep, and some of them are own voices because Chloe Leese is autistic, so when there's an autistic character it is own voices, but when it's not own voices she has used sensitivity readers to make sure the rep is accurate, and she has actually gone back and rewritten sections of her first book in the series after some readers and reviewers said that the rep was kind of questionable, so she went back and changed it and updated it and got new sensitivity readers. So you can really trust her that she is trying her best with these books and that they are solid rep because she does listen when things go wrong. So instead of giving you a summary of each book, I'm just going to tell you the tropes in each of the books. The first one is a sports romance that is enemies to lovers, where two college students have to work together on a project despite the fact that one of them hates the other. This book has deafness rep. In the next book we have an autistic female character who also has a physical disability, I can't remember which one, but she does use a cane to walk. This is kind of an enemies to lovers romance with forced proximity, and is also another sports romance. It's about a marketing media person for a hockey team having to move in with one of her players who she's had a crush on since she started working there because of something happening with her apartment, and him developing a crush on her as well. Then you have the third one is a second chance romance. It is with the oldest Bergman sister. Her marriage is failing and it is about her and her husband trying to save their marriage. Then the fourth book is about one of the oldest Bergman brothers. I'm not sure if he is the oldest, but he might be. He is autistic and he lives out in the middle of the woods, and it's about a female main character with some kind of irritable bowel disease. I can't remember which one it is, but she has some digestive tract issues. It is about them staying in his cabin together for a few weeks, having a fake marriage and forced proximity. So there is a real good mixture there where there's some enemies to lovers books, there's some forced proximity, there's loads of different tropes, so you can easily pick and choose the books in the series based on what you want. And the next book in the series is actually going to be a male-male romance, and there has been hints that in the future there will be a female-female romance or some kind of sapphic representation. So it is a really diverse series that I highly recommend. They're all really funny, they're all slow burns. There is some explicit spice in these books, but the books aren't like purely spice. There's definitely a lot of plot, a lot of emotional development in these books, so they are heavy on the emotion. Good spicy scenes when you get there, but they are very slow burn. Next, I would also recommend The Fine Print, which is the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher. So the first book is the only one that is out at the time I'm recording this. The second book is coming out in February 2022, so it could be out by the time I release this, but I don't think it will be. This book is about three brothers whose grandfather basically is this world's version of Disney, and owns like a Disney company and a Disney theme park, but it's all called Dreamland, and he dies before the start of the first book, and they all are set to inherit his business, but in order to inherit the parts of the business that they want, they each have to fulfill a request from their grandfather. And the fine print, the first one, is that the grandson has to go to Dreamland, stay there for 6 months and come up with an idea that will revolutionise Dreamland in that time, and it has to be put before a board. and he doesn't really like Dreamland anymore. He hasn't been there for a long time, so he has to go there and try and run Dreamland and come up with this idea. Then the female main character has been working at Dreamland for her whole adult life. She was also raised there because her parents worked there. She works in the salon that gives children makeovers before they meet princesses, but she's always wanted to be this book's version of an Imagineer, so like one of the people that creates things for the park. And he runs a competition for people to enter their suggestions for this revolutionary idea. She accidentally puts in a submission that completely trashes the ride and attraction they're currently building, that they're spending billions of pounds on. And the reason she does that is because she was the original designer, but an ex-boyfriend stole the idea from her and then completely changed it before he submitted it. And so our grandson character decides to make her this equivalent of an Imagineer, like an architect or whatever it is they call it, because he thinks that she might be his ticket to creating the award-winning idea. But of course they start to fall in love with each other. This is pretty steamy, but it's not like 100% steamy, so there's still some actual plot to it. There's also some disability rep in this book as well. I can't speak to the quality, and I don't know if sensitivity readers are involved, but the female main character's sister has Down syndrome. But what I enjoyed about it is it isn't all about her having Down syndrome, and she is a completely independent character who influences the plot. She's my favourite character, honestly. She's so sassy and cheeky and sneaky, and I really liked her. But yeah, it's one of those books where if you like a billionaire romance, I would recommend it, but also if you're new to billionaire romances, it's a good start because it's not too heavy on the I'm a billionaire, I can fix all your problems kind of thing that you get a lot of billionaire romances having. So yeah, I really liked it. It's a fun and easy read. There's quite a lot of emotion in this one as well. And yeah, I think if you are looking for a real world romance that still feels like it's a bit of an escape and a bit of a fantasy, this is one, because Dreamland is quite a magical setting for it. Next, I would also recommend the Kiss Quotient series by Helen Huang. I have only read the first book because I'm planning on binging the rest of them this month, but I love the first book so much I would completely recommend them. And these all have some form of neurodivergent rep, I think. So the first two books in the trilogy have autism rep in one of the main characters, and I think the third one might have ADHD rep or something similar, but I can't remember. And they're all kind of about neurodivergent people learning that they're lovable and learning how to be in relationships, and I think they're just really sweet. They are very spicy, but also really sweet at the same time. I would say they're the same level of like emotional as maybe Chloe Lisa's books, maybe not quite as emotional as hers, but definitely more spicy. So the first book in the series, called The Kiss Quotient, is about a female main character who has autism, and basically she thinks that she doesn't know how to be in a relationship, so she hires a male escort to teach her how to be in a relationship, and they kind of end up agreeing to fake date and to also have him teach her how to be able to have sex. And it is about as steamy as you're expecting when she hires a male escort. But it's also really sweet seeing her learn how to interact with him and his family. He is from an Asian American family, but I think our main character, the female one, might be white, so there's also an element of that in it as well. And then, yeah, I think each of the books has at least one main character who is Asian, so that is something else if you're looking for that rep in books as well. I'm not sure these would be good if you're new to romance because they can be quite intense, but if you're a seasoned romancer, these are really good. And I think they're really diverse and they have a good plot to them as well as being really spicy. You don't lose the plot to the amount of spice in these books, and I think they're quite realistic and very grounded romances. Now, if you're looking for something that has a little bit less plot and a little bit more spice, I would recommend the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey. This is a trilogy. It is a complete trilogy as far as I'm aware. I don't think she's writing any more books in this series. It's set in New Jersey and it kind of centres on this construction company. Each of the male main characters works for the construction company, I think, and then the female main characters, these are all male-female romances, have some kind of interaction with the construction company as well. So the first book is about an ex-baseball player who I think he got injured, so he can't play anymore. And he is now working for this construction company that his best friend runs, and he is secretly in love with his best friend's younger sister. He needs to clean up his image to be able to get a presenting job now that he can't play baseball anymore, and she agrees to fake date him to help with his image. The female main character is a clown, like literally is a clown, which can be really weird at times, but it is enjoyable. The second book is a second chance romance book with another marriage to save. That one is where they go to marriage counselling, but he's a really kind of wacky marriage counsellor, and they live separately and have all these rules and homework, and it just is so funny but also really sweet and steamy, and you can see how like the physical side of their relationship is okay, but they need to work on the emotional side, and they kind of do. And then the third book is about the other sister of the guy that owns the construction company. She has always wanted to do a flip all by herself but has never been allowed to, so she decides to get her own house to do a flip on, and a TV show finds out about this and decides to make her and her brother compete, but only one of the guys from his construction crew agrees to help her, who is Wes, the new guy from Texas. She hates him, he has a huge crush on her, so it's a bit chaotic, and the only reason he is in town is because he is there to help raise his niece, because her mother and father have kind of just left the picture and asked him to look after her for a bit. So these are, I think someone once described Tessa Bailey books as 50% plot, 50% spice. That is kind of generous sometimes, because most of the plot also revolves around the spice. So these are very spicy books. If you do not like spice, then I would not recommend these books at all, because you don't get a lot of plot outside of the spiciness. But there is a good side plot in that each of the women is part of this league that they create called the Just Us League, which is about women supporting women and trying to achieve their goals. And that is a really lovely side plot, because you do see each of the women trying to gain their independence and doing different things to do that. So there is a bit of a feminist element to them, and that's why I really like them. I decided to allow just one Talia Hibbert book on this list, or Talia Hibbert series, and the one that I chose is The Roommate Risk. I don't know if this is part of a series or not, but it is a great book as a standalone regardless. This is a friends to lovers romance, and kind of second chance but not really. It's about two university students who meet and have a huge crush on each other, and they hook up. The female main character then tells the male main character that she doesn't stay friends with her hookups, so he either has to choose to continue hooking up with her and it's staying just hookups, or to be her friend and to not have sex anymore, and he chooses friendship. They then become best friends, and are best friends for 10 years, and the book begins with her flat being flooded, I think, and her having to move in with him for a bit while it's repaired, and him suddenly realising that he wasn't as over her as he thought he was, and trying to convince her that maybe it'll be okay if they have a relationship, and her trying to convince herself that the world won't end if she does have a relationship with him. It's really good, it's very spicy. Talia Hibbert books are always really spicy, and this one doesn't have a lot of plot outside of the romance, so again, it's not one to read if you don't like spice, but I think it's also quite emotional in that you see a lot of emotional growth between the two main characters, because they both have to gain a lot of maturity and understand their issues around why they've not been dating so far. You also get flashbacks to their previous parts of their friendship and seeing how this tension has built up over the last 10 years. So yeah, it is very intense and very emotional, but super spicy as well. Now, the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This isn't really spicy at all. I don't remember there being any spice scenes. There might have been, but they're not super present. So if you're really wanting low spice, this is one for you. This is about two people in London who decide to share a flat, but the way they're doing it is there's only one bed, and the male main character works night shifts and the female main character works like Monday to Friday 9 to 5. So he has the flat during the day while she's at work, and she gets to stay in the flat overnight and at the weekends when he is either at work or with his girlfriend. And they never meet each other in person for a really long time, and they are just communicating through like texts and post-it notes. And you get to see this really sweet romance blossoming between them, based on what they find around the flat from each other and the notes they leave each other, and it's really funny. I just could not stop reading this one. It's just so entertaining. It's an easy one to reread as well. It is just the absolute sweetest. If you want the one that's super fun and super chill, this is definitely one to go for. Now, I couldn't make this list without saying Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I just love this book so much. It was my second favourite book of the year last year. My first like absolute favourite book was one of the Bergman Brothers books, by the way, but this was my second favourite book, and oh, it is just so good. So this is an enemies to lovers, but kind of not properly enemies, and it is about the Prince of England and then the first son of the President of the United States, who the tabloids basically start reporting on how they are enemies and that they hate each other, so their PR teams come together and say, you've got to pretend to be best friends for the cameras to smooth this over, and during them pretending to be best friends, they actually fall in love. This one is hilarious. It is so funny. I guess it's another one that's kind of low-ish spice, like there are some spicy scenes, but it's not a super explicit book and it's not the main focus of the book. They're just fluffy, cute romance is also really good. And I really enjoyed the way this romance played out and how the plot plays out. It is just so good. Like, I just really, really recommend it. If you haven't read it, like, you really need to, but I think most people probably read it by now. I was debating whether or not to put it on this list, but I thought I'd put it on here just in case someone really needed that last bit of encouragement, because I put it off for so long and I wish I'd read it sooner. We have another popular one up next, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is just, oh, so cute. I just loved it so much. This is relatively low spice. I think there's only like 1 or 2 spicy scenes in this one, so if you want one that's lower spice but super cute and kind of got a lot of tension in it, this is definitely one to read. I could really see this being adapted as a film and falling in love with it. It is technically a Kylo Ren and Rey fanfiction, but you don't need to read it like that if you don't want to. I knew it was because someone told me, but when you're reading you kind of forget if you're not really looking for it. This is another fake dating, slight enemies to lovers, but they're not really enemies. This is about our main character Olive, who has an ex-boyfriend that she never really like cared about that much, and her best friend is in love with him, so she needs to fake date someone to try and convince her best friend that she's completely over the ex, so her best friend will date him because she thinks they'll be cute together. And she randomly grabs someone in the corridor and kisses him, and it turns out to be this professor that everyone hates that is meant to be really horrible. But he agrees to fake date her because he needs to look like he's going to be staying in town so that he can get more funding. And it is just their story of fake dating when everyone thinks he's an asshole and they don't understand why she's dating him. And there's a bit of an age gap as well, but it's not huge. But yeah, it is so good. It is just so sweet seeing Adam, the professor, being cute to her and no one else. And I love it. And it is an academia setting, which is quite unusual at the moment, and there's not a lot of romances in those settings, so if you want that, that is one to look for as well. Another slow burn that I highly recommend is The Spanish Love Deception, and again, like, if you haven't read this, I'd be quite surprised if you're really into romance because it is so popular. This is an enemies to lovers slow burn romance to the extreme with fake dating as well. Can you tell I like fake dating? Basically, this one is about a woman who has this really tumultuous relationship past. It's actually why she ends up leaving Spain and moving to America. But her sister is getting married and she finds out that her ex is going to be at the wedding and is bringing a partner, and she wants to show up with a partner to look like she's moved on, and she needs someone to take, and eventually her office enemy volunteers to be that partner, and she eventually agrees to take him to this wedding in Spain even though she absolutely hates him. Oh, the tension in this one. Like, this has some good spicy scenes, but this is very, very slow burn. Like, you have to wait, and she builds up that tension. So if you really want to be tortured for like 300 pages, Spanish Love Deception is one for you. But again, if you're looking for something lower spice, I would recommend The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren have loads of books, but I think this is the only one that I've read of theirs so far. And this one is I don't know, it's not really enemies to lovers, but it is fake dating-ish. It's kind of weird to categorize this one, but it is about a woman who is a single mother, hasn't been dating for a really long time, but then she finds out that this guy that she's met in a coffee shop is actually the owner of this new dating app where you provide a sample of your DNA and they match you with other people based on your DNA, and they, like, the different percentage match you get determines the likelihood of your relationship lasting long term. And she volunteers to take part in it and discovers that she is a diamond match with the CEO of the company. Diamond matches are over 90%. They are people who've been together their entire lives, and they are incredibly, incredibly rare. So the company convinces her to agree to try dating him and pretend that they're like really solidly dating in an effort to help with their marketing. And yeah, it is so sweet. This is like super low spice. There are sex scenes in that, like, you're told that it happens. It's not fade to black, but it's super vague. So if you don't really like those super detailed spicy scenes, then this is really a good one to read. This is a lot more about the emotional bonds building and seeing how they interact with other people, and I just really liked it. I loved seeing them create this relationship out of nothing, and yeah, it is so good. And yes, it does annoy me that this isn't 10 because I was going to do 10, but then I thought of this one while filming and had to include it on the end as number 11, and that is The Roommate by Rosie Danan, because oh, this is so good. This one, I can't believe I forgot about it while picking out my 10 to talk to you about, because I just loved this book. So this is about a woman who moves to a new city by herself, expecting to be moving in with an old childhood friend that she has a crush on, only to find out that him and his band are going away on tour at the last minute, and that he has then rented out his room to someone he found on Craigslist. And she finds out that the guy that she's meant to be sharing this flat with is actually a porn star. She's a bit uncomfortable with this, but she decides to stay anyway because she doesn't want to return home and be a failure. And she finds out that he is actually specialised in female focused porn and on female pleasure, and he basically has a huge crush on her and wants to try and prove to her that like she is not broken and that men can be good for her. So yeah, this one is spicy as you would expect with the job that he has, but it also has a really great side plot about creating resources centered around female pleasure, and I think it's just like a really good feminist romance. I can't really tell you too much to sell you on it because a lot of it's spoilers, but it's just worth the read. It is really worth the read. It's such a good, slightly slow burn-ish, but it's a slow burn with a lot of coming together and going apart again, but it is just so worth the read. It's so worth it, I promise. So those are some books that I would recommend you read for Valentine's Day if you're looking for some romance reads to keep you company. I'm always looking for more romance recommendations, so let me know down in the comments if you have any recommendations for me. Doesn't matter if they're super popular or not, or if they're traditionally or indie published. I would love to hear about any of them because I am always ready for more romance recommendations. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to see more content from me. All of my social media links are down in the description below. If you want to leave me a comment to let me know you're here, leave me a heart emoji in your favourite colour. So thank you again. Bye!